Very good. Well, let's go ahead and sit up nice and tall. So just shoulders over the ears, ears over the shoulders as best you can. We want to think about lengthening up, so we're lifting the ribs up off the hip points. The tendency is to kind of tighten up to the lower back and push the belly forward, but we're going to lift the ribs. You can drop the shoulders down. You can close the eyes or find a spot to gaze at. And just take a few exaggerated breaths here today. So when you exaggerate a breath, we should notice movement to the ribs below the armpits and the bottom set of ribs. Maybe some movement to the chest and shoulders. If you take a nice deep breath, you may even notice movement into the clavicle and upper back. If you're a little taller at the top of the inhale, maintaining that length on the exhale as the shoulders continue to relax down. Just continuing to find that movement. If you want to let the exhale lengthen a little bit, it'll help to draw the breath out. Next inhale, be a little deeper. More oxygen to the body will slow the breath down as well. Just taking a moment to notice the body in tightness or openness. If you feel fatigued, relaxed, or energized here as you begin. Noticing where your focus is, if that's to the breath. If the mind's kind of racing or wandering along, that's fine. Just make a deliberate effort to draw focus back to the breath. Maybe that's the movement of the ribs. So we're not forcing anything. Just finding a natural rhythm. We'll take about 5 or 6 more breaths here in stillness. Maintaining your length as you breathe. You're noticing the gentle pause at the top of the in-breath. When you're ready on the inhale, we're just going to reach straight up, shoulders down the back. We'll interlace the fingers and let the palms press out. So we don't want the shoulders up by the ears, and we don't need to lock out the arms unless that's comfortable. Think about the pinky sides of the hands gravitating out behind you. You can straighten the arms as little or as much as you'd like to keep the shoulders away from the ears. We'll take a few deep breaths here. If you'd like me to drop the head and neck and movements through the head, that's an option. If you'd rather lift the chin and gaze up, that's an option. When you're ready on the exhale, we'll take the right hand down to the floor or block. And then just reach up and out to the side. So we don't want to shrug the shoulder or twist the shoulder forward, but just think about keeping the scapula flat. And once again, you can reach out as much as you'd like as long as you keep the hips on the floor. So relax the left leg. Gently lift the left ribs. You can gaze up. Any movement you need to create here, and we'll take about 4 breaths. Hand over the shoulder, bicep by the ear. If you need less pressure on the body, you can always bring the hand to the hip or the shoulder. Natural movement on exhale is to squeeze across the bottom set of ribs. Will come all the way up. Go and switch your legs out. So as you put the other one on top or in front, just lengthen up to the spine once again, shoulders down the back. We're going to reach the arms up and interlace the fingers. Look up and try to put the opposite one on top or in front, however you want to think about that. We'll press the palms out. It'll feel kind of awkward. Pinky sides gently moving out behind you, crown of the head to the sky, and we'll take about 4 breaths here. Same thing, if you need any movements to the head and neck, you can add that for yourself. Whenever you're ready on the exhale, we're going to take the left hand down to the floor or block, or up and out to the side. Same thing, shoulders down the back, hips are on the floor. So you can relax your right leg, gently lift the right ribs. You can gaze up if you'd like. The same thing with the arm, taking pressure off the shoulder, however it's necessary. Bicep by the ear will pull the ribs away from the hip points. Your breath. Abs and obliques gently squeeze on an exhale. We just use that to come all the way through, shoulders down. Right into a twist, hands to the right knee. So our focus here is lift, and it doesn't matter how far around we go. We just don't want to lean out to the side. We don't want to end up leaning out behind us. So lift the ribs with the abs, and on the exhale, a gentle twist around to the right. You can gaze over the shoulder or close the eyes. Try not to tighten up the lower back, but let the abs lift and keep the chest open. If you look around as far as you can, it'll kind of pull you through. If you close your eyes, it just tends to make things more relaxed. Inhale, head around last tall to center. So just maintain the lift of the ribs above the pelvis, and we'll bring the hands to the opposite knee. Same thing, lift the ribs, drop the shoulders, and on the exhale, a gentle twist around to your left, gazing around, closing the eyes. Whatever you did on the other side will probably be appropriate here as well. Just try not to tighten up the lower back, so you're lifting to the chest gently. Your breath. Head around last tall. Inhale. Nice and tall. Hands to the floor behind you. So just lightweight into the fingertips. If you can bring the palms down, that's an option. Don't push the shoulders forward, but think about gently pulling them down and back. And we'll just lift the chest. So if you want to keep the chin tucked, that's an option. You can gaze up where the ceiling meets the wall. If you have a little more openness, you can gaze up at the ceiling. Just don't jut the chin out, but keep the neck long. And some of us feel comfortable laying the head and neck back all the way. That's your option. Just keep the head and neck back until we return to center if you're going to lay it back all the way. 2 more deep breaths, lifting the ribs. So pushing into the fingertips, you can shrug the shoulders to lift the head back up, all the way back up to center. Any movements you need to the shoulders and arms. We'll come back to our back bend in a little bit. For now, we'll move into 3 forward folds. And the first one we're going to come into, we're going to take the heels out wide to the sides. And you can take the heels out as little or as much as is comfortable for your body here. Lift the ribs on the inhale, shoulders down the back, and on the exhale, just easing the body forward. So shoulders from knee to knee, we'll kind of roll the stretch from the inner thigh towards the hamstring. Chest over opposing thighs, we'll stretch into the back a little different. Elbows in, we'll round the spine. That'll kind of stretch the spine with the thighs. Arms out will leverage you forward. The more neutral your spine is, the more stretch you'll get into the inner thigh, hips. We're just going to pause here for a moment. If you need to gently bend the knees, that's an option. You can sit on a block here if you needed to. Ears from shoulder to shoulder, chin from side to side. We'll take about 4 or 5 breaths here. Jaws relaxed. Once again, any kind of movement you need to add. Just a couple more breaths. Hands for support. On the inhale, we'll gently come back up. Shoulders down the back. Hands to the outside edge of the knees. We'll bring the legs back in. And we just want to bring the soles of the feet together. And try to draw the heels in as much as is comfortable. We'll lift the ribs on the inhale, and on the exhale, forward to the chest. We're over the top of the legs once again. Ears from shoulder to shoulder, chin from side to side. You can have the elbows in or arms out. Breathing here. If you exaggerate a few breaths, maybe you can notice that opening into the intercostals between the ribs across the back of the body. These muscles between the ribs. Long, smooth exhales. Relax the arches of the feet. Last few breaths. Hands for any kind of support you need on the inhale. Just slowly return to center. I'm going to keep the feet together. We're just going to slide the heels out away from the body. So as much as is comfortable here, as much space between your heels and the pelvis as you can make, but we still have the soles of the feet kind of facing one another. Lift the ribs on the exhale forward to the chest, over the legs. This should be a little more IT band. Maybe you notice this more into your hamstrings. Elbows in or arms out. Ears from shoulder to shoulder, chin from side to side. Side to side movements of the chest. And if you're adding side to side movement, you can even lift and drop the hips from side to side. Roll and stretch to the outside edge of the glute. Wherever's appropriate for you. We'll take about 3 or 4 more breaths from here. Hands for support, and inhale all the way back up. Slowly walking the hands in, thighs together, legs straight out in front, straight leg forward fold. So this will be a little more belly of the hamstring. If you want a gentle bend to the knees, blocks behind the knees, or sitting on the edge of blankets, that's up to you. So toes and knees to the ceiling. Inhale tall, exhale forward to the chest. So neutral spine as long as you can. You can even add some side to side movement. You can begin to round. If you bend the knees, it'll keep a lot of pressure off the back and allow you to put a little more pressure into the belly of the hamstring. That's just an option here, whatever you need. Ears from shoulder to shoulder, chin from side to side. Breathing here. Maybe relaxing the legs a little bit. You feel like pushing out to the heels intensifies the stretch, and that's the right spot for you. Maybe that's more appropriate here. Last few breaths here. When you're ready to inhaling and find a neutral spine, hands for support to push all the way back up. You can hop out to the hamstrings, whatever movements you want to make. Eventually, we're going to come around to the belly. We'll just come all the way down. Arms to the sides. You can go ahead and bend your knees and just a little bit of rocking the heels from side to side. I'll start to lift and drop the hip points. Whatever feels comfortable across the lower back. And then when you're ready, whatever you want to do with the other leg is up to you. You can keep it relaxed. You can keep the knee bent. We're just going to reach the right hand back for heel toes of the ankle. If you need to grab a pant leg, just whatever you need access to here, and we'll take a few breaths. Maybe relaxing the right leg, letting the arm do all of the work. Everything from the belly button to the toes can kind of stay dead weight here as we breathe. When you're ready to switch sides, same thing here on this side. We'll take the left hand back for the heel, the toes, the ankle, pant legs, whatever you have access to. Breathing here for a moment. Once again, jaw can stay relaxed. You can relax everything from the belly button to the toes, let the arm do the work. Releasing any movements you need to the legs from there. So you can come up in a Sphinx pose and just legs where you'd like to have them. You can have heels in, toes in, heels out. Just whatever feels comfortable for the lower back. Hands on either sides of your eyes. We'll slide up the elbows under the shoulders. One hand each elbow will be a pretty safe spot for the rotator cuff. Palms gently pushing together can help us to keep the shoulders down and back if that's an issue. Palms flat if you'd like. The back of the neck long. We don't want to throw the chin out in front. We don't want to shrug the shoulders. If you need to gaze down, that's fine. Just don't jut the chin out, but think about tucking the chin. Gentle gaze over opposing shoulders if you'd like. And for the Sphinx pose, we can just keep everything relaxed from the belly button to the toes. Do about 5 breaths. Long, smooth exhales. We'll just neutralize the lower back a couple of different ways. This first one we'll just find from the floor and then a balancing table. So hands wherever you want them. Bring the legs together and curl the toes under. So the abdominal wall from the bottom set of ribs to the hip points, we just want to kind of hug up against the skeleton like a corset. Let the glutes squeeze to anchor the pelvis, and then we want to lift up to the bottom set of ribs until our hips leave the floor. And with the glutes and the abs just gently hugged up against the skeleton, it'll keep the lower back set here as we breathe. If you feel like you need to lift the knees up, that's always an option. You can keep the knees down if you feel like that's more appropriate. We're just going to take about 5 breaths. Your knees are lifted, maybe strong, straight legs. Knees drop, pelvis drops, and then you can chug the shoulders and drape the chest down. Elbows to the sides. Bend the knees, just a little bit of movement to the legs, whatever feels comfortable across the lower back once again. And then we'll come up to a table, however's comfortable for you. So for table, we just want hands under the shoulders, point your middle finger forward. We want lots of space between our fingertips. Knees dropping out of the hips about hip width apart. When you look back between the legs, we want the feet to disappear behind the thighs. So when you're ready, on the inhale, hips reach out behind you as the chest reaches forward, shoulders down the back. Keep your neck long. And on the exhale, lift up to the bottom set of ribs as you press the chest away from the floor, rounding. If you want to tuck the chin, that's an option. Inhale, cow. Just going to take a few breaths here. Exhale when you're ready, mad cat. Lift up to the ribs. One more full breath. Inhaling. And exhaling. Neutral spine when you're ready. Shoulders down the back. Press into the left hand. We'll take the left leg out behind you. Heels or toes press out. So strong left shoulder, and on the inhale and your next in-breath, you can take the right arm parallel to the floor. So we're just reaching in opposite directions. Abs and obliques are just hugging up against the skeleton like a corset. Remember, this is about how far back the heel goes, not about how far up you can get the heel to go. Gazing down at the floor or forward, you can bring fingertips or toes to the floor if you need to. Last 3 breaths. When you're ready on the exhale, we'll bring the hand and the knee to the floor. Side to side to the hips, gentle cat-cows if you need it, whatever feels comfortable. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So we're pushing into the right hand, strong shoulder, and then we want to take the right leg parallel. That should push some weight forward. Yep. And then float your left arm out. Gazing under the face or forward. And again, this isn't about how far up the heel goes. It's about how far back you can reach. Everybody's shoulders are even, lower backs are even. We'll just breathe here for a moment. Maintaining all of your length and support. Breathing. When you're ready on an exhale, we're just going to bring the hand and the knee back down to the floor. Cat-cows. Rounding on the exhale. Forward on the inhale just to get some movement into the lower back. When you're ready, we'll step the right foot forward up between the hands. Hands for support, whatever you need to do here. Tented fingers are fine. Just try to line the knee and ankle up so the foot comes down flat. That's perfect. Left knee can slide back as much as you'd like. That'll just give you more stretch into the quadricep and hip flexor. We'll take a few breaths here. Pull the shoulders down and keep your neck long so we're not crunching forward. Keep lifting out of this eventually, but for now, just to kind of pull the ribs away from the hips. Press into the right foot, pull the ribs forward with the abdominal wall, and we're just going to take the right hand to the sky. So push down into your left hand. Perfect. If you push down to your right foot, it'll kind of pull the knee in towards the abdominal wall. That's what we're looking for. So we're not bowing out too much to the knee out to the side. Hand down on the exhale, lunge, and curl the toes under. So you can step back into high plank. If you want to keep the knees to the floor, that's fine. Just whatever movement you need here through the legs. We're eventually going to take the left foot up between the hands so you can drop the right knee however is comfortable. Hands to pull the foot forward. So when you line your knee and ankle up, we kind of set through the hip and thigh. We can relax the legs. So pull the chest forward, keep the back of the neck long. Breathe here. If you need to add movement along the way, that's fine. Tinted fingers, flat hands, or fists if you have wrist issues. Long, smooth exhales. Half back bends here in our lunge. We'll turn this into a twist. So we want a strong right shoulder so we're not crunching down. Pressing down, push into the left foot. That'll keep the knee from floating out to the side. And on the inhale, left hand to the sky. Abs and obliques, lift the ribs up off the pelvis. Movements to the head and neck if you need it. That's a good spot, just breathing here. Going through the exhale, dropping the left hand. Lunge on the inhale and the exhale, once again, high plank. Just step the feet back. You can drop the knees if you need to. You're going to exhale to the chest, chaturanga. So that's just coming down to the chest. We don't want to shrug the shoulders. We don't want to drop to the hips. So once again, the knees down will help you to find a nice even spine. Tops of the feet push down so much your knees may lift. Let the elbows swing in to pull the shoulders back. Long across the back of the neck, and on the inhale, pull your chest forward. So the hands aren't pushing the head up. The hands are pulling the chest forward away from the toes. That'll create the only lift here. So our primary focus is how long we get across the floor. Elbows in, 2 breaths. Active back bend. Curl the toes down, dog. Staying to the knees if you need to. Hips up and back towards the heels. If you find you need to keep forearms down for your down dog, that's an option. If you need to drop knees for a half down dog, that's also an option. Let's just walk the feet all the way up to the hands. Forward fold. Inside or outside edges of the feet parallel. And on the inhale, gentle bend to the knees if you need it. Sweeping up, you can ragdoll, hinge, just however is comfortable. Just drop your hands up front of the heart. Drop your shoulders. So we can lift up on the kneecaps here a little bit to keep the legs stable. We want to think about thighs forward, chest lifts for our back bend. So we're not just pushing the belly forward, but we're thinking about thighs forward and finding a long spine. So on the inhale, reach the arms up, shoulders down, thighs forward, chest lifts. Reach up to the chest. Exhale, forward fold. Swan dive, ragdoll, or hinging down. If you need hands for support, that's always an option. Couple of breaths here. Any movements to the head and neck. Keep your feet a little wider underneath of you. That's always an option here as well for stability. Bend the knees a little bit if you need to touch the floor, because we want to keep that bend to the knees. Whatever bend you need to do to the light fingertips to the floor. And on the inhale, half lift. Pull the ribs up off the hips. Open the chest. So we don't want the back pushing up. We want the chest open and the shoulders down. On the exhale, relax. 2 more. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, relax. Last one on the inhale, extend. Yep. Exhale, relax. Inhale, right foot to the back of the mat. Drop the knee. If you need more stability, bring the left foot out to the left a little bit. We're going to keep the foot planted here once again. Abs and obliques hug up against the skeleton. We'll bring the hands up to the thigh. Shoulders relax. Hands in front of the heart if you want to lift the chest a little bit. Cactus arms will open up into the chest and strengthen the upper back. Arms reaching up help to lift the ribs up off the hip points. Wherever you end up, keep the front foot pushing into the floor. And this may be good for you. Abs and obliques are kind of working to maintain length. We don't have any pressure on the spine. If you need to go further, curl under your back toes and you can lift the knee up off the floor. We'll take about 4 breaths. Exhale, everything kind of stays squeezed up against the body and we bring the hands down. Lunge. Exhale, half split. We'll just let the hips shift back. We can take 2 deep breaths here. You don't have to straighten the leg out. Bent knees will keep more pressure off the spine. And then when you're ready, we'll shift forward and just switch your legs out, however's comfortable from there. If you need the extra stability, just move your right foot out to the right. We want to push into the foot, just like we would if we were standing on 2 feet. Abs and obliques hug up against the skeleton, and we'll bring the hands up to the thigh. So we're thinking about lifting the ribs. We just don't want to push the belly forward and the tailbone out behind us. Hands up front of the heart. We want to lift the chest. Cactus arms, T position, or reaching it. Yep. As much length as you can make here comfortably. And if you need to go further, you can curl under the back toes and lift the knee. We're just going to take the same breaths here. No tension to the jaw. Abs and obliques stay hugged up against the skeleton on the exhale. Just slowly move that support back where you started. That'll keep pressure off the spine. And then we'll exhale, sink the hips back. Heels or toes press out. Bent knees are perfect here if you'd like. Your breath. Shift forward on the inhale. Curl the toes, high plank. So you want to keep the chest pressing away from the floor so we're not shrugging. If you need to drop the knees, that's perfect. Chaturanga on the exhale. Elbows reach back. Chest pulls forward as we lift into our low cobra. So tops of the feet are pushing down. Glutes and the abs hugged up against the skeleton. 2 breaths. Hands are planted, down dog. Shift the hips back. Keep the forearms or the knees down if you need to. Upper back is broad, even weight into your palms. 3 breaths. Pigeon, left knee forward. So for pigeon, point your left knee out to the left just a little bit. Swing the heel out from underneath of the pelvis. And just make sure your right leg's parallel with the right side of the mat. The farther out the heel goes, the more it's going to roll out to the outside edge of the hip, and we want hips squared off. So think about that when you're letting the heel come out. Wherever you can keep the lower back even, the hips even. I think everybody's in a good spot. Forearms down. Maybe you stay right here. You can even add a little bit of rocking from side to side. You can push your left hand down and look up to the left. A little bit of twist here. I'll let the right hip come closer to the floor. If you want to reach the arms out in front, that's an option. It'll kind of draw you down further over the thigh. Elbows in, arms out, whatever you need. In just a moment, try to relax everything from the belly button to the toes. Take about 4 breaths. Exaggerating a few breaths if you need to. Jaw stays relaxed. Hands for support when you're ready. Slowly kind of walk back in towards the body. The further out your hands go, the more you can kind of relax here. Just keep the shoulders down so we're not shrugging. The closer in the hands go, the more you need to think about kind of letting the glutes and the abs hug up against the skeleton and finding your length. If you feel pretty comfortable here, you can stay. You can curl into the right toes. If you want to lift the right foot up, you can. You can reach the right hand back for heel toes or the ankle if you have that space here today. Just whatever's comfortable for the body. Maintain length of the back. We'll take about 4 breaths. When you're ready, we're going to put the foot back down on the floor. Hands to the top of the mat. So press into the palms, abs and obliques to lift the ribs, and then you can slide the left foot back however's comfortable. Any movements from here. Gentle cat-cows across the back, side to side to the hips, down dogs, high planks, child's pose. Take about 2 breaths. Right knee up between the hands when you're ready. Same thing, you can point the knee out to the right just a little bit. Then let the heel come out ever so slightly. Keep the left thigh parallel with the left side of the mat. About where you were on the other side should probably be appropriate here. So everybody's hips are even. And then from here, you can start to come forward. Maybe forearms to the floor. Ears from shoulder to shoulder, chin from side to side. If you like a little bit of a twist in your pigeon, you can bring the right hand to the floor and lift the right shoulder. Relaxing down, that can be elbows in, once again, arms out, forehead to the backs of the hands is an option. Whatever you need. Breathe. Jaws relax. If you'd like, you can relax everything from the belly button to the toe. When you're ready, hands for support, we can start to come back. Once again, you can keep your hands real far out in front. Just kind of stretch into the body. The hips can kind of relax. Any kind of movements you need to make. Coming in further, just think about glutes, the abs, but more and more support as we come up, shoulders down the back. If you have a space in the body here, maybe you can curl into the toes or lift the foot. You can be left hand back for heel toe to the ankle if you have access. We'll breathe here. When you're ready on the exhale, you can release the foot back down to the floor. Press weight into the palms. Lift up to the bottom set of ribs, and you can slide the feet back and keep the knees to the floor if you need to. Cat-cows if you'd like to breathe into the lower back. If you feel like sinking back into a child's pose is best, that's an option. Down dogs or high planks, of course, and we'll take about 4 breaths. Feet walk up to the hands, rounding the spine. Gentle bends to the knees. You can drop the hips, shoulders down the mat. On the inhale, all the way up to standing. Reach the arms above the hips. Relax the arms back down to the sides. Shake out the legs and ankles a little bit if you want. If you want to step off your mat, we're just going to come up into a tree for a couple of breaths. And it's just standing on one foot. We can bring the toes to the foot, heel to the ankle or the calf muscle. If you're coming up to the inner thigh, just try to skip the knee so we don't have any pressure sideways on the knee. And whatever side you want to start with, just float up into your tree. Let the foot and leg gently push together. Lift the ribs ever so slightly up off the hip points. And you keep the hands at the sides in front of the heart. T position, biceps by the ears, whatever you think is best. Just shoulders down. Keep the chest open and lift the ribs. We'll take about 5 breaths here. Maybe you're finding a spot on the floor of the ceiling to gaze at. That can also help us to find stability. When they come down, you can close the eyes. You can exhale the feet down side by side, whatever's comfortable for you. Once you're down out of your tree, we'll shake out the legs and ankles just a little bit. Find your length. So we just want to do the same thing on the other side of the body. When you're ready on the inhale, lift the ribs, open the chest, and we'll bring the foot to the leg. And that's just wherever's comfortable or appropriate. Whatever you did on the other side will be fine. Foot and leg will push together just a little bit. That'll create that isometric action to the hips. Abs and obliques, gently lift the ribs, open the chest, and then find the same position with your arms, whatever's necessary. Same thing here. You can close the eyes, exhale the feet down side by side, or whatever is appropriate for you. Shake out the legs and ankles just a little bit. Go ahead and bring your heels in, toes out, leading to the tailbone and keeping the chest lifted. We're just going to sink into a squat. So knees and toes face the same direction. You may come down a little bit. You might be able to find the elbows and knees together. If your heels lift up on your way down, that's fine. Just wherever's comfortable. Find your squat here. Knees and toes face the same direction. And keep your chest open. That'll keep us from kind of collapsing down and shrugging, but maintain some length, and some of us need to be up on toes to find that. 4 breaths. Fingertips to the front, to the sides, or behind us. We're just going to come all the way down to the spine when you're ready. Hands to the thighs, chin into the chest. Roll down nice and safe. Side to side, front to back, smaller big circles with the knees, whatever you need to the legs here. So just 2 more movements before we come down for our final relaxation. And our first movement is just going to be a really gentle twist. So bring your feet down nice and wide to your mat with the knees kind of collapsing towards one another. Arms out to the sides. And when you're ready on the exhale, let the knees float over to your left side. So you're just rolling to the outside edges of the feet. And you can gaze over your right fingertips if that's appropriate. Take about 4 breaths. Inhaling or exhaling, whatever's comfortable for your lower back. Come back up to center. You can even push the sacrum towards the floor, or the lower back towards the floor if you need to. Readjust on the exhale, knees right, gaze left. Same thing here, breathing. Exaggerating the breath if you need to. Inhaling or exhaling, we'll come back up to center. You can think about pushing the sacrum towards the floor if you need to. Knees into the chest for just a moment. Any side to side movements you want to make. And eventually we're just going to bring both feet flat to the floor. We're going to want to pull the heels in. We just want them to fall to a natural spot. Arms to the sides, palms down, and try to flatten your shoulder blades underneath of the chest. So the glutes hug up against the back of the pelvis. And we don't need to squeeze the glutes as hard as we can, but just for a little bit of support. Abs and obliques hug up against the torso. Same thing, just for support. Gentle lift to the pelvic floor. On the inhale, thighs lift. Press the hips up to the sky, so we're not pushing up to the belly button, but pushing up to the hips and thighs. Push the weight from the feet to the shoulders, and then from there you can push your arms down into the floor however is comfortable. Pressing into the palms, whatever's best for you. Even weight to the feet. Everybody's ankles and knees are lined up. That's perfect. We're going to take about 3 more breaths. Whenever you're ready on the exhale, we want to keep the support we created, and we slowly want to move that support back to the floor. So we're not relaxing and crashing down, but we're just moving all of our support back. Knees into the chest. Any movements from here. And when you're ready, you can start to stretch the legs one at a time long across the floor underneath of you. So just take the legs long, space between the heels, maybe about as wide as your hips, so just enough to let the toes fall off to the sides. Palms up to the sky, a little wider than your shoulders, so the shoulder blades are flat. And then from there, you can rock the head from side to side to find a perfect spot on the back of your skull. Relaxing the jaw and bringing focus to your breath. Maybe for you, that's the movement of the ribs as you inhale and exhale. Maybe the length of the exhale itself. I'm just going to pause here for a little bit. If you need to add quiet, subtle movements, that's your option. As best you can, keep focused to the movement of the ribs or the breath itself. And if you get distracted along the way, completing that process is putting focus back to where it was. Here for about 4 or 5 minutes here as you breathe. Slowly bringing focus back to your breath. You may want to exaggerate a couple of breaths here to the diaphragm and the chest. Wiggling fingers and toes, wrists and ankles, just gently bringing awareness back to the body. Maybe knees into the chest with the spine on the floor when you're ready. A couple of breaths here. Rolling over to whichever side the body is most comfortable. If you want to lay your head on your arm, that's fine. We'll just pause here off to the side for a moment. Hands for support. Pressing back up to where we started, seated position. Shoulders over the hips. Ears over the shoulders. So ribs lift, shoulders down the back, crown of the head to the sky. You can close your eyes or find a spot to gaze at. Just a few breaths here. Just taking a moment to notice subtle changes to the body, the breath, of the mind. Subtle changes you created, subtle changes you can return to when you need to, maybe pausing to find breath. Maybe focus as we complete our tasks. Subtle movements to keep tension out of the body as we move during the day. Your pace, your breath, especially when our practice ends. Under the light in you, same light in me. Namaste. Thanks for coming to class. Good to have you all.